In the closing years of the 19th century, Wilmington, North Carolina stood as a rare example of what multiracial democracy in the South could look like. It was the state's largest city, majority Black, economically vibrant, politically balanced, and culturally alive. Black professionals, doctors, teachers, business owners, and skilled laborers shared real political power with white populists and white Republicans. Black men held public office. Black newspapers shaped political thought, and Black businesses thrived. Wilmington was not perfect, but it was possibility. A glimpse of what Reconstruction promised and what many African Americans believed could be achieved through perseverance, education, and the ballot. But for white supremacists who refused to accept Black political power, Wilmington was not a model, it was a threat. And in November of 1898, they decided to destroy it. The massacre that unfolded on November 10, 1898, was not spontaneous, accidental, or a community conflict gone wrong. It was a planned, organized, and openly announced white supremacist coup d'etat, the only successful one in United States history. Months beforehand, white Democratic leaders, including former Confederate Colonel Alfred Moore Waddle, had launched what they proudly called the White Supremacy Campaign. Their goal was simple: take back political power by any means necessary. Through rallies, propaganda, intimidation, and the use of paramilitary groups like the Red Shirts and the relentless press war led by white-owned Wilmington Morning Star, they stoked fear among white citizens and painted Black political participation as a danger to civilization. At every turn, Black citizens were portrayed as legitimate voters, corrupt officials, or racial threats. The message was clear: Wilmington must be taken back, violently, if necessary. One of the clearest targets of that hatred was the city's Black-owned newspaper, the Daily Record, edited by Alexander Manley. A thoughtful and articulate journalist, Manley dared to challenge racist myth about Black men and white women. White leaders seized his words, twisted them, and used them as fuel to justify violence. On November 9th, white supremacist leaders published the White Declaration of Independence, openly demanding the overthrow of Wilmington's biracial government, the expulsion of Black leaders, and the destruction of the Daily Record. The next morning, November 10th, 1898, hundreds of armed white men marched to the newspaper's office and burned it to the ground. Their attack was the spark that ignited a much larger fire. White militias, joined by police and city leaders, fanned out across Wilmington. They shot Black men in the streets. They dragged people from their homes. They set fire to Black neighborhoods and forced Black families to flee into the swamps and surrounding woods. For many victims, the exact number of dead will never be known, but estimates range from dozens to well over 100 Black men and women killed in a single day. By the afternoon, the second stage of the coup unfolded. The white mob marched to City Hall and forced the elected biracial government to resign under threat of death. Alfred Waddle, the same man who promised he would choke the Cape Fear River with Black bodies if necessary, installed himself as mayor. Wilmington's Black leadership, businessmen, politicians, and community organizers were given an ultimatum: leave the city forever or be murdered. Many escaped only with the clothes on their backs. Wilmington, once a thriving center of Black middle-class life, was transformed overnight into a city ruled entirely by terror. But the violence of 1898 did not end on November 10th. The coup had a long shadow. White supremacist leaders used their victory to pass new laws that crushed Black political participation for decades. Literacy tests, grandfather clauses, poll taxes, and blatant intimidation disenfranchised thousands of Black voters across North Carolina. Black political power collapsed statewide. In Wilmington, the Black population dropped drastically in the years that followed, and the city's once strong Black business district never recovered. What had been one of the most prosperous Black communities in the South became a warning. a symbol of how quickly progress could be erased when white supremacy wielded violence as a political tool. The Wilmington Massacre was not a race riot. It was not a misunderstanding. It was a coordinated act of racial terror and political overthrow, carried out by men who bragged about their intentions and celebrated their success afterward. Local textbooks ignored it. Newspapers distorted it. For nearly a century, the true history was buried, just as many of the victims were. Today, as America continues to wrestle with the questions of democracy, racial violence, and the legacies of white supremacy, Wilmington stands as a chilling reminder. Progress is fragile, and justice requires vigilance. The Massacre of 1898 was designed to erase Black achievement, silence Black voices, and rewrite the future of an entire state. And for a long time, it succeeded. But telling the truth, honoring those who lost, recognizing the courage of the Black citizens who built Wilmington, and naming this event for what it was, is one step toward restoring what was taken. The Wilmington Massacre was a tragedy, but remembering it is an act of resistance. It forces us to confront not only the brutality of the past, but the unfinished work of building a democracy where terror cannot dictate who has the right to govern, to vote, or simply to live.